All right, so we're diving into ontology RD today.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if it really lives up to the hype,
Yeah.
especially compared to conventional RAG, the way AI usually finds information. It's a pretty hot topic, and we've even got this document about Korean fire law. It's structured in this really organized way using ontology, so that's going to be our guide today. And thankfully, we have our expert here to help us break it all down, ready to make some sense of these complex ideas and figure out why we should even care.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it all comes down to understanding. How can we get AI to use information more like we do? Instead of just relying on keywords, can AI grasp the connections between things, like really understand them?
Right, exactly. So before we go any further, can we back up a sec? For anyone who's not totally familiar, what is art in the simplest terms?
Okay, so imagine like a humongous library, just books everywhere on every topic you can think of. That's our knowledge base. RA is like having this amazing librarian who can instantly go through all those books, find the most relevant parts, and then use that to answer whatever question you have.
So way smarter than just typing a few words into Google and crossing your fingers.
But where does this ontology thing come in? And what's the deal with the Korean fire law?
Okay, so conventional RAG relies a lot on turning words and documents into numbers. We call these embeddings. And those numbers, they actually represent the meaning of the words. That's how the system can find similar pieces of information.
Makes sense. So then how's ontology RJ different?
So ontology RG, it adds structure and relationships to that knowledge base.
Yeah.
Like think about that Korean fire law document, right? It's not just a random jumble of laws. It's super organized into chapters and articles and paragraphs. That structured organization, that's a perfect example of what an ontology does. It's like creating a network of knowledge, showing how everything is connected.
Okay, so instead of just knowing fire hydrant and installation are somehow related, the ontology understands that fire hydrant installation is a specific process. And that's part of like fire safety regulations, which are part of the bigger picture of Korean law.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a family tree, but for information. I love that. A family tree for information. So with all these connections, does that mean ontology RAG can find more accurate stuff compared to conventional RAG?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting for me. How does ontology RAG actually work, like in
Wow.
practice?
It uses both.
Yeah.
It combines that numerical power of the embeddings with the understanding of the ontology. So say you're searching for fire hydrant installation. Conventional RAG, it might miss some key info if that exact phrase isn't used. But ontology RAG, it uses its knowledge of the relationships to find it, even if the wording's a bit different.
Wow, so even if a law doesn't literally say fire hydrant installation, the system can still find it because it knows it's connected to fire safety or regulations. That's amazing. Okay, I also keep hearing about this thing called SparkQL. What is that, and what does it do in all of this?
SparkQL, it's a special language for asking really precise questions of the ontology. It's a way to say, show me all the regulations about installing fire hydrants near schools, instead of just searching for fire hydrants.
So way more targeted, more nuanced results from the ontology.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And because the ontology already understands all those relationships, the answers you get are much more likely to be accurate and relevant. That's a huge advantage of ontology RAG over the conventional way. It gives us better results and it reduces the chances of the AI just like making things up, which can definitely happen sometimes with conventional methods.
Yeah, that's a big deal, especially in areas where accuracy is super important. But let's get practical here for a sec. What are some real-world benefits? Like, why should we be excited about using ontology RAG?
Okay, one big one is accuracy, like we talked about. Ontologies, they help to get rid of ambiguity. They cut down on all those irrelevant results because language can be tricky, but ontologies give us the context we need.
So no more feeling like you're searching for a needle in a haystack.
Right, exactly. Another thing, ontology RAG, it helps to structure the information in a way that makes sense. So instead of this big jumbled mess of text, you get information that's organized logically. Often it'll mirror the structure of the ontology itself, kind of like that Korean fire law document we were talking about.
This is all so fascinating. It sounds like ontology RAG could really be a game changer, especially when it comes to actually using all this information.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. And as we dive deeper, we'll see even more of its potential, its applications and implications for different fields. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Okay, so we talked about how ontology RAG seems better, more accurate, better organized than conventional RAG.
Yeah.
But can we get some like real-world examples? Where does this actually make a difference?
Yeah, for sure. Let's say you're a lawyer, right? Working on a case, a complicated one. Something like intellectual property rights. You need to find all these laws and precedents and stuff very specific to this case.
So basically, weeks and weeks of research, going through tons of documents.
That's the traditional way, yeah. But with an ontology RV system, one that's specifically for legal research, you could get those answers way faster. Because the system gets it, you know? It understands how all these legal concepts are related. So you can ask very, very specific questions and get really good results.
Okay, so instead of just searching copyright or patent, you could ask it something like, show me all the case law in California, where a software algorithm was considered to infringe on a patent, but the defendant argued fair use.
Exactly. Like, it wouldn't just see those words. It would understand the legal ideas behind them and how they connect. And then it could pinpoint the exact information you need from this massive amount of legal text.
That's incredible. It's like having a superhuman legal assistant. What about other fields? Could this be helpful in science, too, like scientific research?
Oh, absolutely. Think about all the data in genomics, drug discovery, material science. It's overwhelming, even for the scientists themselves, to keep up with it all.
Yeah, it's like trying to drink from a fire hose of information.
Exactly. But ontology RAG could help us, like, manage that flood. Imagine a system that understands all those connections between genes, proteins, diseases, drug targets. A researcher could ask, show me all the mutations linked to Alzheimer's, and highlight any potential drug targets that have shown promise.
So it could seriously speed up scientific discoveries.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's not just about finding what's already out there. Ontology RAG can also help us find hidden relationships, connections we didn't even know existed, and that could lead to some major breakthroughs.
It's like giving scientists a whole new way to see patterns, connections that were invisible before. Okay, but what about something more everyday? Like, could this improve customer service?
Absolutely. Imagine chatbots that actually get you, you know, they understand your questions, even if you don't use the perfect words, and they give you answers that are actually helpful.
So no more of that, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your request loop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ontology RAG could totally change how we interact with businesses and organizations. It would be faster, easier, less frustrating to get the information we need.
So are there any real examples of this being used right now? Or is it all still, like, theoretical?
We are starting to see some real-world applications. Healthcare, finance, even education are using it. For example, some hospitals are using it to help doctors with diagnoses.
So doctors could tap into this, like this huge organized database of medical knowledge.
Exactly. And it could also help with things like drug interactions, or flagging rare conditions, or suggesting different treatments.
That's incredible. It's like having a whole team of specialists right there with you.
And in finance, it can help analysts make better investment decisions, assess risk more accurately, detect fraud.
So this is AI that can help us understand the past and maybe even predict the future a little bit.
To some extent, yeah. Of course, no system is perfect, but ontology R can help us make better decisions, you know, decisions based on the best information we have.
This is really groundbreaking stuff. It feels like we've just scratched the surface of what ontology RI can do. But before we get too carried away, what about the downsides? Are there any risks or challenges?
That's a really good question because, yeah, any powerful tech comes with challenges. One of the big ones is making sure those ontologies are accurate and reliable in the first place.
So, like, if the foundation's shaky, the whole thing could fall apart.
Exactly. If the information in the ontology is wrong or incomplete or biased, the results you get from ontology RAG could be misleading, even harmful.
That makes sense. So building these ontologies must be super complex.
It is, definitely. It takes experts, constant updates, lots of quality control. We have to make sure that information is good and represents the real world.
So it sounds like ontology RAG, while promising, is still a work in progress.
It is, for sure. But the potential benefits are so big that it's worth it to overcome those challenges.
This has been a really enlightening conversation, I have to say. It's amazing to think about how ontology RAG could unlock so much more understanding, from all the information we have today.
I agree. It's a really exciting field with a ton of potential.
Yeah, it does feel like we're on the edge of something big, like a total shift in how we find and use information. Everything we've talked about, it all points to ontology RAG being so much smarter. Like a better way to do this compared to conventional RAG. But we've got to be real. There are some challenges.
Right, there are with any new tech, really. But with ontology RAG, I think the benefits are just, well, they're huge. Big enough that it's worth putting in the effort to figure those challenges out.
So where do we go from here? What's next for ontology RAG?
I think one of the most important things is we need to keep developing those ontologies, make them even better, figure out ways to capture knowledge in a more, I don't know, a more complete way. Go beyond simple relationships,
Yeah.
include like more complex concepts, different contexts.
We need even bigger, better family trees of information.
Exactly. And we need to make sure they're accurate too, right? Not biased, and keeping them up to date. That's going to take people from all sorts of fields working together, plus lots of research and development.
So a massive project.
Yeah, it is. But imagine, what if all information was organized this way? Accessible through this huge network of ontologies.
Like that Korean fire law document, but for, like, everything.
Exactly. We could search for information in ways we can't even picture right now, find connections, insights that would have been impossible before.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. We're still in the early stages, but the possibilities are incredible.
Oh yeah, I agree. It's super exciting. Ontology RAG could totally change how we learn, how we work, how we make decisions, maybe even how we think about knowledge itself.
That's a powerful thought. So for our listeners who are, still processing all this, what's the one thing you want them to take away from this conversation?
I think the big thing is ontology RAG, it's a totally different way for AI to handle information. It's not just about keywords anymore, it's about meaning. It's a deeper way to represent and use knowledge.
It's like teaching AI to see the world more like we do.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, there are challenges, but the potential is huge. It's transformative.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive into ontology RAG. I think we could all agree this technology could really change everything about how we use information. And as we go forward, we need to keep exploring it, keep pushing the boundaries. But also, be smart about it. Think about the challenges and how to address them.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's an exciting time to be working in this field, and I can't wait to see what happens next.
And that's a wrap on this deep dive into the world of ontology RAG. We hope you learned something new, maybe even got a little inspired. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning. We'll see you then.